There's a jar sitting in your bathroom right now that I will tell you to use on exactly one thing in this house, and never on anything else. Same jar, same house. One yes, and a whole row of hard no's. That is not me being precious about it. There's a real reason, and the reason is not what the stuff is made of. It is how long it sits. So give me a couple of minutes here. I am going to show you the trick that takes the plunger already sitting in your closet and makes it work about twice as hard for the same effort out of your shoulders. Costs you $2 and a fingertip. And then right at the end, I am going to tell you the exact places in your house where that same $2 jar will quietly cost you a few hundred, because it is the most common, well-meaning mistake I get called out to clean up after. Stay for that part. That is the half of this nobody bothers to tell you. This does not start with the jar, though. It starts with why plungers fail in the first place, because almost everybody blames the wrong thing. Here is what I watch happen. Somebody clogs a toilet or a kitchen sink. They grab the plunger. They go at it hard. Water slops over the rim onto the floor. Arms burn out after a minute, and the water in that bowl has not moved an inch. So they stand up, they look at that plunger, and they decide the clog is too big for it. That is the wrong conclusion. That is a homeowner about to spend real money on a job that was 30 seconds from being done, because that plunger was never moving the clog. It was moving air. Let me explain how the tool is actually supposed to work, and it takes about 20 seconds. Water does not squeeze. You can lean on water all day long, and it will not compress, not even a little. So when you shove a sealed plunger down into a bowl full of water, that push does not get absorbed anywhere. It travels. It runs straight down the pipe and slams into the clog like the whole column of water turned into one solid rod. That is hydraulic pressure, which just means force carried by a liquid that refuses to shrink. It is the same reason the brakes on your car work when you step on the pedal. Air is the opposite of all that. Air squashes down and springs back, and a spring soaks up whatever you put into it. So if the rim of your plunger is not making an unbroken seal all the way around, every stroke you take just burps air out from under that edge. You feel yourself working, you hear noise, you get splashing, but the force is escaping sideways, out from under the rubber instead of going down the pipe where the clog is. You are running a hydraulic tool with a leak in it. And here is the part that stings a little. Almost nobody has a bad plunger. Almost everybody has a leaky one. The rubber is fine. The edge just is not sealing against a hard glazed surface, because rubber that has been sitting dry in a closet for 4 years has gone slightly stiff, and glazed porcelain is smooth but not perfectly flat. And between those two things you get a hairline gap all the way around. That gap is where your strength is going. So the fix is not a bigger plunger or a stronger back. The fix is closing that gap. So here it is. Take a finger, scoop up a little petroleum jelly, and smear a thin film all the way around the rim of the plunger. The edge that touches the fixture. That is the whole trick. Wear a glove if you have one, and I would rather you did. A paper towel or a cotton swab works the same. What that film does is fill the microscopic gaps between stiff rubber and hard glaze. Instead of rubber sort of resting on porcelain, you get rubber bedded into a soft, continuous gasket. Now, there's no path for air to sneak out. Every stroke you make transmits, and you feel the difference immediately, because the handle suddenly gets heavy and stubborn instead of easy and sloppy. Easy means leaking. Heavy means working. Two things about how much to use, because this is where people overdo it. Thin film, not a glob. You want it evenly around that contact edge, enough to look slightly wet, not enough to leave finger tracks. A heavy blob just squishes out under pressure and slides around on you. And now you have a plunger skating off the drain instead of gripping it. And if you are working a toilet, coat two things, not one. Coat the main cup rim and coat the flange. The flange is that soft rubber sleeve that folds down out of the middle of the cup. Most people never unfold it. Coat both, because on a toilet, both of those surfaces are doing sealing work. Which brings me to the tool itself, because a perfect gasket on the wrong plunger still gets you nowhere. There are two shapes, and they are not interchangeable. A cup plunger is the classic one, the plain rubber dome on a stick, the one that looks like it came out of a cartoon. That shape is built for flat surfaces. Kitchen sink, bathroom sink, tub, shower floor, flat rim, flat porcelain, good seal. A flange plunger has that extra rubber sleeve folded up inside the dome, and that sleeve exists because a toilet drain is not flat. It is a curved throat that drops away from you. A flat cup cannot seal on a curve. It will slip, it will fold inside out, and it will fire dirty water up at your face. So on a toilet, reach in and pull that flange down and out so it is extended, then seat it into the throat of the drain and let the outer cup settle on the porcelain around it. Flange in the hole, cup on the bowl. Now you have a seal on a curved surface, which is the entire reason that shape exists. If you own one plunger and it is the flat cup one, that is the single cheapest upgrade in this whole video. A flange plunger runs about $10 to $15, and you can fold the flange up inside the cup to use it on flat drains too. One tool, both jobs. Right tool, sealed edge. That gets you most of the way there. The rest is water. Start with water level, because this is the most common one I see, and it is free to fix. That cup has to be underwater, fully drowned. If the water in the bowl is low, or you are working a sink that already drained down, you are compressing air, and we already covered what air does. It springs back and soaks up the whole stroke. So add water. Pour it in from a pitcher, a bucket, whatever. Enough to cover the cup by an inch or two. And if there's way too much water and you're worried about slopping it over the rim, bail some out into a bucket first. Gloves on. You want the level right, not just high. One quick thing. If this is landing, this is a thinking behind my book. 100 old house fixes that save you thousands. Much of it is about telling when a cheap patch is the right answer and when it is hiding the real problem, and how to ask a contractor questions that get you a straight quote. Link is in the description, or use the code on screen. Now, step back from the cup for a second and look at the whole system, because pressure does not only escape at the rim, it escapes anywhere you left it a door. On a sink or a tub, there is a second leak, and it is a hole you have looked at 10,000 times without thinking about it. That little opening up near the top rim of a bathroom sink is the overflow. On a tub, it is the plate under the spout. That thing is not decorative. It connects into the same drain line below, which means every stroke you take vents straight out of it. You can have a perfect jelly gasket and perfect technique and get absolutely nothing because your pressure is going out that hole. So jam a wet rag in it and hold it there. Wet, not dry. because a dry rag lets air right through the fibers. And if you have a double bowl kitchen sink, both bowls share one drain underneath. So plunging one just pumps water up into the other one. Plug the second bowl too. Now the stroke, and the order here matters more than the effort. First press goes slow. Slow and gentle, straight down, once. All you're doing is squeezing the trapped air out from under the cup and setting that seal. If you come in hot on the first stroke, you blow the seal, you spray water across the room, and you have accomplished nothing except making a mess you now have to clean up. Then, once it is seated and you can feel the resistance, then you work it. Sharp, rhythmic, straight up and down, keeping the handle vertical over the drain. 15 to 20 seconds of that without lifting the cup out and breaking the seal. Not one heroic shove, a sustained working rhythm. And this next bit is the piece almost nobody has right. It explains why people plunge correctly and still lose. The pull stroke does most of the work. Pushing drives the clog further down the line, away from you, out toward the branch where you cannot reach it and where a plumber has to. Pulling drags it back toward the trap, which is the U-shaped bend right under the fixture. And back there is where a clog comes apart and where it can be reached. So you are not hammering that clog into submission. You are rocking it loose and dragging it back toward you. Same motion, opposite intent. Slow first press, then work it, and favor the pull. On a toilet, there's something you can do while you get set up that costs you nothing. Squirt a quarter cup of dish soap into the bowl and let it sit while you go find your gloves. Dish soap is built to cut grease, and it works down and lubricates the whole mess. Then pour in a gallon of hot water from about waist height. The height gives you extra push, and the heat softens paper. Hot, though. Not boiling. This is where people crack a toilet and turn a free afternoon into a $400 one. Porcelain hates sudden temperature swings. Dump boiling water into a cold bowl, and you thermal shock it, which just means the inside expands faster than the outside and the thing splits. Hot tap water is fine. Water off the stove that has stopped bubbling and sat a minute is fine. A rolling boil straight into the bowl is how you buy a new toilet. Let that soap and hot water sit 10 or 15 minutes, then plunge it. A lot of the time you will not even need the plunger. Now, one housekeeping item on the jelly. And this one matters more than it sounds. When you're done, wipe that rim clean. Paper towel, warm, soapy water, get it off the rubber, and dry it. Not because it is gross, although it is, because petroleum jelly left sitting on rubber slowly breaks that rubber down, and your plunger cup is rubber. Leave a greasy film on it in a dark closet for a year, and you come back to a cup gone soft and tacky. And a soft, tacky cup cannot seal. Hold on to that. It comes back in about 90 seconds, and it is the most expensive part of this video. Let me hit the common problems fast, because these are the ones I get asked about constantly. My plunger keeps folding inside out. That is a cup plunger in a toilet. Wrong shape for a curved throat. Get the flange. I sealed it, I plunged it, nothing moved. 9 times out of 10, that is water level or a vent you missed. Is the cup fully underwater? Did you plug the overflow? Did you plug the second bowl? Fix those 3 before you decide the clog beat you. My plunger is old and the rubber is split. Throw it out. A cracked cup cannot seal, and no amount of jelly fixes a tear. A plunger that cannot seal is a stick with a hat on it. And do not go at a toilet like you are trying to drive a fence post. Straight down, firm, controlled. bear your whole body weight into it, and you can disturb the seal where the toilet meets the floor, and now you have a slow leak under the base rotting your subfloor, which is a genuinely expensive problem hiding under a job you thought you won. 2 hard stops, and I am not going to soften either one. If you have already poured caustic chemical drain cleaner down there, do not plunge it. Do not. That stuff is sitting in a pool on top of the clog, and a plunger is a device for throwing liquid back up at you. Chemical burns to the eyes and the forearms are what that looks like, and I have seen it. Let it sit, flush it through with a lot of cold water first, or wait it out. And the stop sign. If it is one fixture acting up, that is a local clog, and it is yours to fight. But if a second fixture starts backing up at the same time, if you flush the toilet and the tub gurgles, if you run the kitchen sink and something bubbles in the bathroom, or if you catch a sewage smell, put the plunger down. That is not under your fixture. That is out in your main line, the big pipe carrying everything out of the house, and plunging it can push a mess up somewhere worse. That is the call worth paying for. Knowing that difference is exactly how you save money without doing anything reckless. All right? Now, the part I promised you, and it is the reason I made this video instead of just telling you to buy jelly. Everything I just walked you through is a 2-minute job on a hard glazed surface that you wipe clean afterward. That is the entire permission slip. 2 minutes, hard surface, wiped off. Take that same jar anywhere else in your plumbing, and you are doing damage. Never put petroleum jelly on an O-ring. Never put it on a faucet cartridge, a valve stem, a supply line gasket, a toilet tank seal, or any rubber part that lives inside a fixture. That is the whole list, and it is not negotiable. Here is why, and this is the part that makes the trick make sense instead of sounding like a contradiction. The rubber used in plumbing seals absorbs petroleum. It soaks it up like a sponge and swells. And in the first week or two, that swelling actually makes the seal feel tighter, which is exactly why people think they did something clever. Then the rubber keeps drinking. It overswells, it goes soft, it loses its spring, and it can no longer hold a compressive seal. And later the oil leaches back out and leaves the rubber brittle and cracked. Read that back if you need to. The thing that makes it feel like it worked is the same thing that is destroying it. So a cartridge that should have gone 15 years starts weeping at 3, and nobody connects it because the failure shows up 2 years after the helpful thing. That is not a scare story. It is just a difference in contact time. On your plunger, that film touches rubber for 2 minutes, and then you wipe it off. On an O-ring, it is packed into a groove, in permanent contact, in the dark, forever. Same substance, completely different outcome, and the clock is what decides it. What you use inside a fixture is silicone grease. Plumbers call it plumber's grease or faucet grease. It is chemically inert against those rubbers, which just means it sits there and does its job and never eats anything. It costs about $4 to $8 for a little tub, and one tub outlasts most houses because you use a smear at a time. Every hardware store has it in the plumbing aisle, and I will tell you honestly why nobody mentions this to you. There is no money in prevention. Nobody sells a service call for a seal that did not fail. So let me put the numbers side by side. The petroleum jelly is $2 or $3 for a small tub, about $5 for a big one, and it is probably already in your cabinet. The plunger is free because you own it, or $10 to $15 for the right shape. The rag is a rag. The dish soap you have and silicone grease is $4 to $8 one time if you ever go inside a faucet. Now, the other column. A plumber out to clear a simple clog during normal business hours generally runs $200 to $300 for the visit. After hours, on a weekend, or on a holiday, most shops go to somewhere between 1.5 and 3 times their normal rate, and a straightforward clog that gets snaked out at 9 at night lands more like $300 to $800. That is the kind of number that makes accountants wince, and it is a number a lot of people pay on a Sunday for a clog that a sealed plunger would have taken in 40 seconds. I am not telling you never to call a plumber. I told you exactly when to call one. I am telling you not to pay $300 for the ones you had. If this saved you a call, the rest of it is in my book. 100 old house fixes that save you thousands. There is a whole section on catching small leaks early before they get into your floors, your ceilings, and the backs of your cabinets, plus the room-by-room checklist and the seasonal calendar I work off. Link is in the description, or the code on screen, and if you want more of these, subscribe to Roger the Pipe Guy. Old house fixes that keep the money in your pocket instead of somebody's invoice. So here is the rule I want you to walk away with, and it is one sentence. Petroleum jelly is allowed on the outside of a fixture for 2 minutes, never on the inside for 2 years. Outside for minutes, never inside for years. Hold on to that one line and you will use it right every time. And you will never be the person who greased an O-ring trying to help. Go put a little on your plunger. Then go put the jar back in the cabinet where it belongs.